Brian brings over 25 years of automotive experience to our conversation. And Brian's going to talk about data and the importance of how leveraging real time data insights can be used to solve problems and make better decisions faster. Brian joins us from the CDK Fortellis team, and Brian's a self described platform evangelist. I'm sure Brian's going to explain to us exactly what that is. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, James. Glad to be here. I forgot to bring my textbook to hold up as I evangelize about platforms like Fortellis. Happy to get things started. Again, welcome to the class. We're going to be talking a little bit today, again, about how data can become a new source of competitive advantage. I'm going to actually start off by having everybody in the room take a second, put on your customer hat just for a minute. Thanks to COVID, we spent a lot of time at home and a lot of time on computer screens. And as a result, many of us have gotten used to spending a great deal of time on services like Netflix or Amazon to find some form of an entertaining escape. Now, think about the last time you logged in. When you did on the top of the screen, you kind of saw what the new show was. You saw below that some popular shows that are currently out. Have you ever experienced that thing where you log in and you're not logged into your account, whether it's on the TV screen or the computer, and suddenly, like for me, I'll wind up on my son's account. The funny thing is, when you do, it's like you're transported into a whole different world. The shows that show up on the screen aren't what you want. They don't make any sense to you until you realize, oh, I got to go up and switch over to my user account. We've become very accustomed to the fact that when we log into those screens, we're immediately presented with what we want and what we desire. This is something that we've come to expect in our day-to-day lives in many different ways. And it didn't happen overnight. Amazon, of course, has for years been collecting information on me and has a pretty good idea of me based upon my buying habits. And as a result, they got very good at building out that buying habit approach. And then eventually, when they brought out their streaming service, they carried that same logic over and began building an engine to understand my content. It took them a little while, but eventually they figured me out. Netflix, on the other hand, started off using those antiquated silver things called discs, DVDs that they would send out in the mail. Even at that time, when they were literally just setting up distribution centers and cranking out DVDs as fast as they could, what most of us didn't realize is in the background, they too were building profiles on the shows that we liked. So when we logged into the old Netflix system, we were again presented with shows that matched the ones that we had given high star ratings for and given positive comments for and rented over and over again. When the digital version of that came out, again, Netflix was right there and was able to present to us what we wanted. These are examples of years of background research, years of knowledge, and years of hard work to create data on demand when you hit that button that gives you a seamless experience. I want you to keep that in mind as we talk today, because while we may be talking about big data and big data ideas, in the end, everything we're boiling down to really is about an experience. And it's that experience that allows us to differentiate ourselves from other dealers, from other services, to allow us to stand out like a Netflix or like an Amazon by providing the service that people want in a way that they appreciate, are surprised at every time they log in. Everyone loves to quote Steve Jobs. I'm doing it because, frankly, this is one of my favorite quotes of his. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple, but it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. It's much harder to make something simple than complex. And we have, of course, at our disposal a growing amount of data that we have every day that we can use to create a simple experience to make our customers happy, a simple experience that does in the end move mountains by maintaining those customers. When we think about data today, one of the things I like to think about is just the car itself. Now, the cars that we drive today are vastly different. If you own an EV or you're considering an EV manufacturers like Tesla don't build vehicles with tech as we think of them in a modern sense. But what does that really mean? How much data are we talking about? If you look at just the autopilot systems with the Gen 7 chips on a Tesla, they can process up to 1 terabyte of data per second in autopilot mode. That's just the autopilot feature, not the rest of the car. Many people have Tesla pay for that premium plan to get maximum data back and forth so that they can get those updates as they need them. And those updates are critical. With an update, literally, it can make the car drive better, drive smoother, drive quieter. Most of those premium subscription plans transmit about 50 gigabytes of data per month back and forth between the car, separate just from its updates. What EV manufacturers are building today are software that is supported by hardware. And again, we're just talking about the car. That's where many EV manufacturers are today. And in time, I think we're going to see more and more vehicles really begin to take that software first approach. There's a massive amount of data that is just on the horizon and becoming available for us as dealers. But let's face it, there's a lot of other data there, and we're constantly building more. When we think about the data that's available today in the industry, first thought obviously is our DMS, because we live in it every day. As dealers, we need this for so many functions, everything from payroll to accounting. It's the lifeblood of the business. But in addition to that, we have so many critical elements that we work with every day that have their own data sets. We have CRM systems and ILM systems to manage both the service lane and manage our sales process. We use a variety of third-party services. I was actually in a conference call the other day talking with several dealers, and they agreed that the average number of systems that a sales manager touches from the time that a customer starts to the time that the customer leaves the dealership with a bought vehicle is about 26 different products, 26 different tools, each with their own data sets. In addition to that, many dealers have said, hey, I need to really own this better. And so they've created their own custom in-house tools, utilizing DMS data, utilizing CRM data, and cobbling their own data sets together from their own feedback to supplement the information that's not easily available. The reality of it is a lot of this information, like lanes on a highway, are traveling at their own rates with their own individual vehicles, doing their own thing. And crossing lanes oftentimes is not as easy as it sounds. Each of these systems has a large data set that has to be passed back and forth. And today, a lot of that's done with ad hoc pulls and inefficient bulk transfers of information. That fragmented data is missed opportunities for us to work with our customers, missed opportunities for us to differentiate. We don't know what parts to order sometimes. We're delaying scheduling. We're delaying finance visits. We're doing so many different things a little bit out of sequence simply because while the data is there, it's fragmented. It's not where it needs to be. So in the end, it makes life difficult for us. And I could spend a half an hour just talking about the advantages of the Fortellis platform, which allow us to take workflow APIs, getting the information we need on the fly quickly to make that fragmented process close-gapped, closed-looped, and working together. Asynchronous APIs are part of that, allowing for live information to flow freely. And in addition to that, you're going to hear more and more in the future about Fortellis offerings from Neuron, which leverage artificial intelligence and business intelligence to take that data and allow you, again, to improve that process and make it better. A lot of people I talk to, when I say AI, immediately they think of some crazy sci-fi movie. The reality is AI at its core is artificial intelligence that frees people from repetitive, unnecessary tasks and allows them to spend more time on creative functions. Imagine that person at the dealership who is spending so much time entering stuff, if they could back out of that and instead take that information and take action creatively. Now we've taken a person and we've given them a better reason to be in the organization. We've made them happier with what they do. And as a result, they do a greater job of making our customers happy. Business intelligence combines data and analytics, taking that information together to find meaning and understand patterns that we frankly couldn't pull off in a few seconds, let alone a few days of crunching that data. Again, we're freeing that individual to get the information that they need and say, oh, here's a great pattern. Let's take action. Let's be creative. Let's make that experience better. Now, we have all this data, these massive amounts of data points out there. What really is our North Star? What are we trying to do with that information? Ultimately, we want to push that information and use it for our customer. So our North Star is our customer. But who is the customer that I'm talking about here? Well, there's quite a few of them, actually. We naturally are talking about the owners of vehicles. That's one customer that serves data. But the dealer themselves is actually a customer that's also feeding off of that data to help their own needs. OEMs are utilizing feedback of that data to improve their vehicles all the time, making a better model and making it easier for that dealer to sell the next one and keeping the customer happy. And then there's a variety of third-party vendors out there who also add to that ecosystem with their unique abilities to add more data sets to it to make it better for OEMs, to make it better for the dealer, and ultimately to make it better for that owner of the vehicle. So when we think about different workflows where we can make a difference and really try to wow that customer, we need to first of all think of who that customer is. And we're really going to focus for the next couple of minutes more on that customer being the owner of the vehicle. Jeff Bezos said this, one of my favorite quotes from him: the best customer service is when a customer doesn't need to call you, doesn't need to talk to you. It just works. We're always trying to find ways to make life easier for us as dealers. But what are we doing instead to make it easier for that customer? What process do we have today that, with a little bit of insight, a little bit of knowledge, and a little bit of data, can we instead alter that process so that someone doesn't have to pick up the phone? They can literally take action. The example that I'm going to give next is a workflow that I've walked through many times with people. It's just an example of a possibility. So let's think about the data using that North Star, and let's walk through this workflow together. Now, in this example, you've got a customer who owns a vehicle, about the third year of ownership, and about once a year, the little maintenance light comes on in the car and says, hey, it's time for that oil change. It's covered by the manufacturer. You should get it done. So imagine now that the vehicle asks, instead of popping a warning light up, it actually asks on the screen, can I send you a text reminder? Well, now, yeah, that's pretty easy. The text shows up on the phone. Thanks, car. In that text reminder, the text allows the owner to set up an appointment at the dealership with a reply by simply saying, would you like to schedule an appointment today? Yes. Next comes back a text message with a series of options to schedule that appointment. So he goes ahead and chooses the time that he wants and hits send. The appointment is scheduled. And lastly, he gets a reminder via text indicating when to show up at the dealership. A pretty simple workflow, and a workflow that on its own is something that was inconceivable even 5 years ago, something that many of us are looking to now and that different organizations are trying to do today. One thing we could do through integration, imagine connecting to a calendar sharing tool so that when that message comes through on the email, instead, at first it says, can I share your calendar? Yes. Okay. I see 3 appointments that are available at the dealership that match your calendar. Oh, well, this is better. Now I don't have to stop and think about, does that conflict with a meeting? Wow, that's great. That just made my life way easier. Yeah, I'll take option 1. Using artificial intelligence, imagine our tool looking at the last 2 appointments that that customer had. And it turns out that each time that customer had asked for a full detail in addition to the scheduled maintenance. Checking the rewards program that's available through that dealership, you're able to automatically offer at no charge a courtesy detail. Why, thank you. Yeah, I'd like that. Wow. From using business intelligence, imagine that tool also discovers that this is the last scheduled maintenance for that car. The lease is coming due in 3 months. Maybe we want to also begin to soft introduce them to a salesperson and talk about offering them a pull ahead option to move out of that car now and into a newer vehicle, creating an entirely new sale. Wow, I guess it is about that time. I hadn't thought about it. Thank you, Mr. Dealer. So we've now taken a simple workflow and, using connected data, third-party services, and business intelligence, we've now gone from just an okay process to a wow process. But in that exact same workflow, we've focused on the primary customer, but there are many more. Because see, in that same scenario, we also have a dealer as a customer in that workflow. See, the dealer gains the advantage of having that customer come back for service, having the service work performed. And in addition to that, it's gathering more data on that customer to make the next experience better. And in this case, could even potentially be the point where a new sale takes place. The OEM gains value out of this because the information that's pulled through that allows that manufacturer to better understand when maintenance is done. And it takes that information to continually improve and make the next model that the customer buys even better. Software vendors like third-party AI providers that can execute that text message function get to sell that product to the dealer. And industry partners like, say, Carfax, for example, may get access to that data to confirm that that car's maintenance was done on time, allowing them to assure the market that that vehicle has maximum value going forward. The funny thing is that maximum value not only benefits them, it also benefits the OEM and the dealer. The amazing thing about these processes is how interconnected they are. And again, it all comes back to being able to do something more than just have siloed data but have that data exist together. The cool thing about data as it is today, by leveraging what's there, expanding what we do, and using all of them around very simple workflows, is that we've gone from an I mentality to a we mentality. And when we replace I with we change that process from an illness to becoming a wellness. That customer in the middle that exists there, in this case, the owner, is surrounded by data points that tell us about him or tell us what that person really wants. The information is already there kind of in that bubble. We can take that and we can enhance that by using DMS data to make that data set richer before we take action with that customer. We can use those custom tools that the dealership has developed to, again, add to that process and make that workflow better. We can use third-party information and services to make that workflow happen in a better way. We can tie in vehicle data to truly understand not just the connection between the vehicle and the owner, but how that owner interacts with that vehicle and how that vehicle performed and how that vehicle can get better in the future. We then add to that AI and BI reporting and guidance to make it a complete set so that that data now all together comes together to provide the perfect solution and the perfect workflow opportunity for the customer. All that data together, we then come down to a very simple experience that wows the customer. Sean Garrity is a great Canadian director. Love his work. I love this quote. The technology that you use impresses no one. The experience you create with that technology is everything. And that's true whether it's a movie or whether it's something that we are doing with our customer, whether it's as simple as scheduling a service appointment or it's engaging on that next sales process. What we do with that technology has the opportunity to allow us to truly differentiate ourselves from the competition, stand out, and wow them. The Fortellis platform is designed to be an agnostic and open platform that's available to anybody in the industry. If you look on that marketplace, for example, you'll see a number of solutions that are actually provided by competitors to CDK that are still solving problems today within the marketplace. A great example of that would be eLead. eLead, of course, is a CDK product, but not everybody using eLead has the CDK DMS system. And there are tons of solutions out there today that integrate directly with eLead. One that comes to mind is a product called Mandador, which is designed to make it easier to provide AI chat. And they'll do the AI-driven chat system in the sales process and drop that in near real time right into eLead so that that salesperson knows exactly what's going on when they pick up the process to sell. So really anybody is welcome to join in. Our API directory is a continually growing directory that has, in addition to CDK APIs and eLead APIs, a variety of third-party APIs like Nihilus that I had mentioned and several more that are coming on. So it's a product that's growing out to really service the industry and remove, again, a lot of those silos that we see so that we can all do a better job for our customers. Any dealer today can go in, create an account on Fortellis, jump into our marketplace and see different offerings that are available today. I talked in the session about the idea of doing text communications to schedule appointments. One of the features, for example, that's out there now is a product called Nihilus. And Nihilus literally allows you to utilize a shared calendar function that will match up with for example, I can hit a button and it'll link into my iPhone, which has both my home calendar and my work calendar all synced together. You can literally create that synchronization flow so that maybe another service like Update Promise, which is on the marketplace, or My Karma, or any other service scheduling tool can utilize in real time to match that up against an opening within, say, a CDK service system. Match everything down and literally just send back one or two examples of things that fit both scenarios instead of playing the negotiation process. I laughed. I feel like every time I pop on the phone for service or I'm sending a text message for service, the first thing I have to go through is a negotiation process. They say, well, I have these openings. And I go, no, I'm busy these days. This whole process doesn't really need to happen. This creates that wow effect by completely removing that friction. There's many other services that are on there. In the previous module, we talked a little bit about the importance of service providing alternate transportation. A good example of that is a product that's in our marketplace called Hailer. And Hailer allows a service department to do one of two things. One, they can have that customer that shows up at the dealership say, oh, you need a ride home? Great. Let me send you home via a ride sharing system. As soon as the car is done, I'll send you a text message. We'll pick you back up. Or it can be used in the reverse. Instead, that dealer may say, great, let me send a porter out utilizing that rideshare service, pick up that vehicle and return it to you. And the beauty of using a rideshare service like that is that it makes it so much easier for a dealer. If it's an on-demand situation, they don't have to go chase down a loaner car that may be available. They don't have to wait for shuttle services. It allows, again, for a more frictionless experience. So dealers, I would encourage you to go to fortellis.io, click on the marketplace link, and just take a look around. There's all types of examples of different services that you might very well say, wow, how do I make that workflow Brian talked about work over here? How do I make this workflow I want to do work better over here? The components may very well be there to not get to the end result, but start moving you towards that North Star. So many of these tools are available on Fortellis today. When I talked about Hailer, you could literally go in right now and you'll see a purple subscribe button on that screen. So if Hailer is something you've even thought about, go ahead, hit that button. You'll agree to terms on the spot, and someone will be in touch with you shortly to begin that onboarding process. It moves very seamlessly. When you look at other products that are out there today in the marketplace, you'll see in many cases there's a contact button where you can contact that individual provider so they can share with you a demo, maybe answer some questions, and then can also initiate that onboarding process. So you could quite literally jump onto Fortellis today, within a few minutes, find in the marketplace a tool that meets your need, hit a button and be connected with that provider and get the ball started today.